Imagine a country where crime has learned to speak quietly. In movies, we recognize the mafia by loud gunshots and police sirens. In reality, the soundtrack is often very different. The rustle of papers at a tender, polite phrases at a shareholders meeting. Quiet agreements sealed with a dry, "The issue is settled." Japan is officially one of the safest countries in the world. But here, for decades, existed a system where organized crime, the Yakuza, could control the streets and at the same time walk through the front doors of legitimate business. Today we'll uncover 5 stories that reveal why the Yakuza's influence is considered truly dangerous. These are not just tales of fights and shootouts. They are stories of control over infrastructure and money, intimidation of politicians, corporate blackmail, and the fragile peace of city streets. Listen carefully. We will move from the visible to the invisible, from concrete and bridges to words worth millions. And the deeper we go, the quieter it becomes, and the more dangerous. In the early 1960s, Japan was preparing for the Tokyo Olympics. The country needed a symbol of rebirth. Stadiums, new subway lines, highways, airports, bridges. The city looked like a giant anthill. Cranes everywhere. Concrete mixers running day and night. On the surface, this was a story of progress. But beneath it, the Yakuza saw the perfect opportunity to turn chaos into profit. It started with construction materials. When dozens of sites work at once, shortages are inevitable. Contractors whispered, "Do you want cement to arrive on time? Do you want steel without delays? We can help." The price for reliability was called a service fee. In reality, it was protection money. Next came manpower. Construction devours workers by the thousands. Recruiting them is difficult, unless you use employment brokers. On paper, they were staffing agencies. In reality, they were controlled by the Yakuza. Entire brigades of laborers could appear overnight or disappear if the contractor refused to cooperate. And then, waste disposal. Tens of thousands of tons of debris, dirt, and concrete had to be hauled away. The contracts for this were gold. Whoever won them controlled another flow of money. Of course, the winning firms were almost always tied to the mafia, but the biggest scheme was at the level of tenders. Officially, Japan held fair competitions, lowest price wins. In practice, the winner was decided long before the envelopes were opened. The Yakuza gathered contractors and negotiated. One company wins, the rest lose, but get subcontracts as compensation. Everyone gets paid. The city gets its stadium, and the clan takes a slice of every poured foundation. Over time, the Yakuza didn't just extort the construction business. They became the construction business. They created legitimate companies, complete with offices, licenses, and directors in suits. From the outside, they looked like any other contractor. Inside, they were still mafia-controlled. This system outlived the Olympics. In every economic downturn, when the government poured money into infrastructure to support jobs, the mafia returned. Every bridge, every road, every redevelopment was another silent opportunity. The danger here is not just the money stolen. The danger is that cities learn to depend on the mafia for smooth work. Once officials get used to this, the line between business and crime fades. And when crime becomes a trusted partner, concrete costs more than just money. It costs control. Japan loves order and predictability. Its people are disciplined, its streets safe, and local news rarely looks like crime reports. That is why a single gunshot outside a city hall, in front of cameras, shook the entire nation. The mayor of Nagoya had openly spoken against the Yakuza. He closed illegal clubs, cut shady contracts, refused to accept gifts. He said from the podium, "The Yakuza have no right to dictate terms to our city." It made him a hero for the people, but it also made him a target. On a spring evening in 1995, The mayor stepped out of City Hall. There was a crowd, journalists, citizens, flashes of cameras. From the crowd, a man in a suit approached. He came too close. Security assumed he wanted a handshake. One shot. For a second, no one understood what had happened. Then the mayor fell. Panic erupted. The gunman did not run. He did not shout. He simply allowed himself to be arrested. He was a pawn. Everyone knew someone else had pulled the strings. For Japan, this was a shock. The country prided itself on safety. Suddenly, the mafia had shown it could kill a public official in broad daylight. The government reacted instantly. New anti-Yakuza laws, stricter financial checks, blacklists of companies tied to the mafia. City events gained heavy security. But something deeper had changed. Citizens placed flowers at the City Hall steps. Stores nearby displayed signs, "We are not afraid." And yet, people looked over their shoulders more often. The shot into the mayor was a shot into the heart of public confidence. The danger of this crime is not in the death of one man. It is in the normalization of violence as a political tool. Once that line is crossed, others will consider it an option. This gunshot was not just an assassination, it was a declaration. The Yakuza are not only in the shadows, they can strike at the very center of power. At night, a port is a theater of machines. Cranes lift containers, spotlights cut the dark, the water reflects steel. Every box is logged, every cargo tracked. And that's exactly why ports became perfect for smuggling. After World War II, Japan was flooded with methamphetamine. Originally military stockpiles, it spilled into the streets. When the government finally cracked down, the demand didn't disappear. The Yakuza stepped in. Drugs moved in matryoshka shipments, toys with false walls, furniture with hollow spaces, electronics with hidden weight. Big shipments were broken into small ones. The risk spread out. Customs couldn't check everything. Key were the people between procedures. Shift managers, dock workers, inspectors. They didn't see themselves as criminals, just as people making things faster. And ports always love speed. In the other direction came weapons. In Japan, every gun is rare and priceless. A pistol wasn't for mass shootings. It was for showing. A handle sticking out of a pocket, an empty magazine on the table. One gesture was often enough. Police raids hit hard, arrests, seizures, press headlines. But the system always recovered, because trade had to go on. And as long as containers moved, some would carry poison. The danger of this crime is its resilience. You cannot destroy it once and for all. It survives, adapts, and hides inside the very bloodstream of Japan's economy. Japan is imagined as a land of quiet tones. But Kobe and Osaka in the 1980s and 1990s lived in noise. The death of a clan boss split the Yamaguchi-gumi. Rivals clashed. Conflicts spilled out of back rooms and onto public streets. Daytime shootouts. Molotov cocktails at storefronts. Cars torched. Shops closing early. Taxis refusing certain neighborhoods. Parents kept children home. Residents whispered the names of streets to avoid. The city was under siege. Police flooded the streets, but statistics couldn't erase the fear. Because the Yakuza fought for face, for status and respect. And for them, honor was worth more than life. Eventually, exhausted leaders sat down. Not in offices, in anonymous rooms, with phones left outside. They reached fragile truces, not peace, just pauses. The danger of these wars was not only the bodies left behind, it was the normalization of violence in daylight, when entire cities become chessboards, when citizens become pawns. And if it worked once, someone else will always try again. The Yakuza's most dangerous crime made no sound. It happened in boardrooms, not streets. The scheme was called Sokaiya. It was simple. Buy a tiny package of shares, gain the right to attend a shareholder meeting. Then, ask questions like knives. Why did this payment appear in your accounts? Why is your contractor linked to suspicious firms? Evidence wasn't needed. The hint was enough. Journalists loved hints. Markets hated them. So companies paid. On paper, it was consulting, PR, or security services. In reality, it was extortion. For decades, Japan's largest corporations handed over millions in silence. No shots, no bodies. But entire sectors of the economy bent under mafia control. The danger here is systemic. When companies learn to buy silence, they forget how to tell the truth. And an economy built on silence loses its ability to make sound decisions. By the late 1990s, laws tightened. Access was restricted, enforcement toughened. But the memory remains. The Yakuza didn't need guns. They only needed words. We have walked from concrete to whispers, from open gunfire to quiet blackmail, from construction to politics, to ports, to streets, to corporations. The Yakuza's danger lies not only in violence, but in adaptability. On Monday, they are partners at a construction site. On Tuesday, they are shareholders at a boardroom table. On Wednesday, they are smugglers in the port. On Thursday, they are men with guns. Never romanticize crime. Never agree to small exceptions. Because silence, in the Yakuza's hands, has always been the loudest weapon. Thank you for listening.